Warning.
You are now tuned in to 7 Mile Radio. 7 Mile Radio.
What's up, everybody? It is Wednesday, and we are back for another episode of Truth Podcast. It's your girl, Penelope. How y'all doing this evening? What's poppin'?
Hey.
What up?
What's going on?
What's up?
What up?
How y'all doing?
Good. How about
Good.
you?
Can't complain. How are you?
How you?
I'm doing well. I missed all of you guys last week. Had a lot going on. I couldn't be here, but I did get a chance to catch the show. It was amazing, y'all guys today. Excellent job. And we got Tat back.
Yay!
Tat back with us for another show tonight.
Thank you, sis.
And we're glad to have you.
Thank you, babe.
What's going on, Mac? Let's get around the table. How you doing this week?
I'm doing good, man. Shit. Nothing out of the ordinary. Class is starting back up for my clinical counseling master's degree, so I ain't gonna be as available as I used to be to my clients. Cutting my schedule in half, but hey, gotta make sacrifices.
Good for you. Moving
All is
forward.
well, though.
Moving
All is
forward.
well.
That's
How's
good.
your week been, Mr. Mark?
Well, it's been a productive week. Doing the school thing, trying to get into the digital marketing world, and did my first podcast. I got a good grade on it, actually, and the editing was fine.
Cha-ching.
Let's go.
Nice.
And so I'm happy to be here and have this opportunity to just speak with everybody and be around some people that actually have like minds like me.
That's right.
Absolutely. We're glad
Thank you,
to have
sis.
you.
Thank you.
Very glad to have you. How you doing this evening, Mike?
I'm doing good. You know, it's always great to be around you beautiful people. Can't complain. So glad to be here. Ready for another great show as always.
As always. Why he tagged the whole friend list.
Okay.
Everybody, you already know.
Leave it to Mike. He is going to
Mike
get
will
it done.
tag
Be
everybody
honest.
like, well, why you not watching?
Tad, how are you feeling tonight?
I am feeling wonderful. I try to start every day on a positive note. Every day above ground is awesome. I'm so glad to be back here. I'm so glad to be by you now. Girl, I hope I did a great job of filling in for you last
No, you
time.
did good. You held it down real good.
And thanks for having me back.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Hopefully we can reach some people today.
Yeah.
For sure. Mark, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. You know me, same old shit, different toilet, man.
My
I'm
man.
in the city. You know,
Mark over
doing the
there
damn thing.
blinging. Is that new?
No, I mean it's not too.
I don't see that every week. That's new. You got your new
This nigga Harry, here she go.
I'm just laughing at that. I should hit him over the head because you know my last name Mac. You know.
Here she go. But yeah, just been out here on the streets, man. This latest news story that I've been reporting on about this apartment complex on Maross.
They kicking people
And
out
yeah,
after they did them both.
Yeah, and then the thing about it is, someone actually after my second video, she called me today. Somebody called CPS on her, and CPS showed up at the house today, and now they're threatening to. They telling everybody they need to move because the house is
Mr. 7
unlivable.
Mile Radio
Wow.
to the rescue.
Yeah, I guess I did that.
He's
shit.
the newsman of the hood.
That's
you better
right.
get with him, follow him.
That's right.
Oh,
He
yeah,
covers shit the news don't cover.
They don't want to.
They don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't want to.
That's why they be mad at him.
Hey.
Because they ain't covering. Well, what are we talking about tonight, Mac? Introduce our topic for us.
All right. So before we introduce our topic, I would like to introduce our guests. We have Tat Perry McGlon here with us
What's
another
up,
week.
everybody? Yay! Kick it with us, 7 Mile Radio.
Hey. Last week she stepped in as a co-host. This week she's in as a guest to share her
Yay.
perspective on this topic. And we also have my boy, Mr. Mark Miles.
Hey!
What up, dude?
What's up, Mark?
Natural East Sider. Let's get it.
And so our topic tonight is PTSD, and that stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. Some are familiar, some are not. Even if you have heard of it, you probably don't understand it. And so the purpose of our broadcast tonight is to educate, but also to allow these two people to share their stories and their experiences, and in hopes that it reaches and helps someone tonight. Before we get into their stories, for those of you that are not familiar with the term post-traumatic stress disorder, just think about the phrase post, after, traumatic, after trauma, stress, after trauma comes stress, and if that stress is not managed, it becomes disorderly, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder. It is a diagnosis. It is a mental health diagnosis. It is on the DSM-5. It's not something that these people have imagined in their minds. It's not something that's fictitious or that people are using to manipulate or whatever. It's a real disorder. And what it is, it's a mental disorder that one can develop after experiencing or being exposed in person to a traumatic event. That's post-traumatic stress disorder, right? That's PTSD. Right. But just like a lot of different things, even with depression, you have mild depression, you have major depression, you have major depressive disorder. There are levels to this shit.
That's right.
So while I was reading and researching, there's something called complex PTSD. So notice in PTSD, it says a traumatic event. Yep. Whereas complex PTSD is as a result of an ongoing traumatic event, such as kidnapping, hostage taking, war.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first, perhaps, a car accident or rape or sexual abuse, right? But there's levels to this shit.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
No, you didn't miss anything. No.
Not at all.
Because the expert is the person that experiences.
Absolutely.
And we're gonna expeditiously get to these stories because I need to understand some things as well. But so that's basically the difference between PTSD and complex PTSD. And I want you to understand that this is a real psychiatric disorder. This is a real diagnosed mental health disorder. It doesn't mean that these people something's wrong with them. It doesn't mean that they're less of a human. It just means they're impacted, right? Beyond what people would normally experience, right?
Absolutely.
Like most of us ain't built for half the shit that we go through. And sometimes it's traumatic, and sometimes it changes us.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to move on to Penelope, and she's going to go a little bit further.
That was Reverend Mac right there, though.
Okay.
That was very intuitive, if you didn't know.
I learned a thing or two.
Yeah, that was
about
powerful.
The complex, and I'm glad you broke it down, because a lot of times people say things like, "Oh, I suffer from PTSD," not even knowing.
Just because it sounds good on paper to say.
Not even knowing the correct meaning of it and what people really go through, for that. So I'm glad that you broke it down and, even educated myself on the meaning. I was looking and doing my research, and I was going through the causes of PTSD. And I don't know about everybody else, but the first thought that automatically comes to my mind when I think about it would be combat, veterans. So I started digging, and I found a lot of common causes, and a lot of them surprises me. The 3 most common causes of PTSD will be combat exposure, for those who are veterans who've been fighting in the war. The second one would be childhood physical abuse, and the third most common one would be sexual abuse. And these are just the most common ones. But other ones include natural disasters. And that was interesting to me, because I never thought about that. Yeah. I never thought about the people who had to evacuate and, had to flee because of things that we cannot control. That's not in our nature. They have, PTSD because of these things. Auto accidents. Lack of social support. Remember I told you that was...
It's a big deal.
Early on.
Yep. Me and Mac was talking this morning.
There's certain things you need
over the phone,
and
I kept reading, and I kept saying lack of social support. And the first thing that came to my mind is when I I thought about children. You know, you ever met a child and the child is really, really sheltered and really don't know how to be around other kids because they've never been around other kids. So that's kind of traumatic for them. They're really held back, distanced, you know what I'm saying? Don't know how to be in the general public. So that's a good example of lack of social support. And anybody who has witnessed any type of act of violence or incident, that could be traumatic. So you don't necessarily have to be the person that's going through it, but just for you to be a witness of it, that can also be traumatic to you too. And when I thought about it, like, yeah, it's a lot of stuff that, you know, I see that's very horrific. You know, you can see anything, an accident on the freeway. You can see somebody getting murdered. You know, you can see somebody getting kidnapped and keep reliving these things in the back of your head and not knowing what it is, and it's PTSD.
So what are the symptoms? What are the signs? Like, what are some of the common things that show up after trauma that would give a person an indication that they have
Flashbacks.
Okay.
Flashbacks. Right? A lot of people have flashbacks after they have experienced a lot of trauma.
And for those people that don't know, what are flashbacks?
Flashbacks is when you are going back into that time, into that moment when whatever happened, and it's just like you're kind of reliving that again. And it happens. You have no control over it when it happens. It happens at the damnedest times, and you know it affects people in a major way. Flashbacks is one. Nightmares. People who are unable to sleep, maybe able to go to sleep for a couple of hours, but in the middle of the night they get up, they're sweating, they're unable to go back to sleep. Avoidance. If you ever run into a person who have avoidance issues and kind of standoffish, they could be a victim of PTSD as well.
No lies told there.
What'd you say, Mark?
No lies told.
Memory problems. It has been shown that a lot of people who suffer from PTSD suffer from memory problems and concentration issues. Anger and irritability.
Yeah.
Self-destruction. And those are just to name, you know, a few.
Right.
You know, people always say, they crazy. He acting crazy.
And it ain't crazy. It's impact.
Yep.
That's a bad stigma, though.
It
Mark,
is.
talk to us about that. Like,
So-
out of all those signs and symptoms, what percentage of those have you experienced personally?
99.9.
Damn.
Been through all that type of trauma. You know, where at an early age I witnessed some things and then had things happen. And then I had things happen in my marriage at that time. And then after my marriage I went to combat. And then I came back and, you know, I never really had a healing chance. I didn't know. I didn't think about it, you know, because just like most people, you know, just being honest, right? You know, like the negative stigma. They crazy.
Right.
Everybody's crazy in my mind. Some of us are just better at hiding it.
Yep.
You know,
Great point.
that's just it. And I had gotten so accustomed to hiding my anger and craziness because I wanted everybody to look at me like I'm normal.
Yeah, I was about to say, are we crazy people in the sane world, or are we sane people in the crazy world?
Both. It
Both.
depends on where you
I
are.
think it's both, depending on how you manage
Yep.
and navigate your way through it.
That's right.
And she brought up the social and emotional support, right? If you don't have none of that, then you tend to jump off the ledge.
Yeah.
And that ledge could be whatever triggers you. A door slamming. You know, I had a remote fall out the bed and I was ready to fight.
I remember Mark right around the 4th of July last year.
Oh,
He
yeah.
came and we were talking about fireworks.
Yeah.
He was like, he ain't going to no fireworks. He can't go to fireworks.
Can't do it
Because
no
it
more.
sounds like combat and it triggers
Right.
those flashbacks and memories. So it's certain things that the avoidance, right, that you talked about. It's certain things that
Right.
you avoid because you know it might set you off, right?
Yep.
Whether it be fireworks or whether it be arguments or whether it be any type of anything that brings stress and tension.
Right.
You avoid it, right?
I agree. Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. You've been hitting home runs.
Well, that's typical D-Mac.
Reverend Mac.
Okay.
So tell us your story, Mark. When did you first start experiencing your symptoms, and when did you realize you needed help? And tell us what that diagnostic process was.
Okay, so I'll give you a brief background because
Right.
hopefully I'm invited back. I don't want to ruin my opportunity.
We're gonna be like, well, Mark's story's over. It's time to go.
Right.
Nobody called in.
Because we're gonna open the phone lines after you tell your
Okay,
story.
so I'll start at an early childhood, right? And this is complete transparency. I have nothing to hide because I'm 51 now, and I've learned to manage and control my emotions, and that's one thing that, you know, people like myself, or I will speak for myself, like having PTSD, I had to learn to control my emotions because things can trigger me.
Yep.
But I learned to manage that. So at an early age, I was molested by a man and a woman. Then I went through trauma with my ex-wife where I was stabbed in the back. You know.
By her?
Yes.
Jesus.
Yes.
I ain't know. You ain't told me that.
I know. I love you
All
though.
them barbershop conversations.
Wait till tomorrow. I got a 2:00
Oh
appointment.
my God.
And then it hit me after my first tour. I was at work in the military. You know, you get up in the morning and you go to PT, and then after PT, you know, you kind of just go do what you're supposed to do. You know, check your dog tag, let me see your ID, and make sure you got all your stuff on you at all times. I went to the smoke pit, and I just started crying. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to feel. I felt everything that had happened to me at one time. I didn't know whether to be really angry, really sad, really upset, or really frustrated. I had all emotions at one time. And I had a buddy named Jermaine Salters that caught me because I don't want anybody to know. You know, I'm as a African American male. First of all, I'm challenged every day anyway. Let's start there. And then I'm a sergeant in the military. I got people under me, and then one of my soldiers caught me crying. That's not acceptable in my mind. That's when I realized, I genuinely and truly realized I needed help.
Something was wrong.
Because I will tell you this, and we're going to get more into it. I sat at a table similar to this with a fifth of Jack Daniels that probably had about 6 ounces left, a 9mm with one bullet. I ain't even had a magazine. I was about to quit. It was it for me. I was done.
And this was behind combat, which we're not going to get into.
Yeah.
This was behind combat.
It was absolutely
Okay.
behind that. But that's when I realized, like, damn, I need some help. I sat there for 3 hours. I put it in, pop it out. Put it in, pop it out. When I couldn't catch it the last time, I don't know if y'all familiar with, you know, you unload and load a magazine. You know, you can play that game and flip it and catch it in your hand. I couldn't catch it. I fell asleep. And the only reason I didn't do it when I woke up is because I only got one son. And I was like, I can't leave him here. Not without me.
Right.
And then I went to counseling. And then they told me, man, you got PTSD. I've seen friends die. I've seen friends walking out of this studio and never come back. I got this mission, bro. I'll be back 3-4 hours later. You know, you think they supposed to be back.
But
They
you
ain't
had
back.
a double dose of trauma, though, right?
Absolutely.
Not just the military. You
Right.
had the sexual abuse, right?
Yeah.
That's traumatic. And she said it's one of the top 3
Yeah.
reasons or causes of PTSD.
I hit all those.
I had a question.
Absolutely.
Earlier you mentioned that it just came, everything you had went through, it just came at you at once.
Yes.
Was the prior trauma, was that involved in that too? The sexual abuse, was that also tied into everything? It was just like everything.
That's a very good question. That's like you give somebody a half inch of yourself, but you don't let everybody go a mile deep.
Right.
Right. So I've given, and I still give that 1 inch, but ain't nobody going too deep no more. And that's not because I don't want to allow a person to, because there's only a few people, you know, that I allow to go that deep because there are wounds down there that still have to heal.
Right.
And I have to go through my journey to kind of, understand that I want to fix it
At your own pace.
at
though.
my own pace.
Right.
And the stigma that really bothers me the most is that there's the complex portion of PTSD, but there are also layers to, I don't want to say common, but like PTSD, like you said, the car accident or the train wrecks. I had, the survivor's remorse because I was supposed to go somewhere and the guy that, anyway, we switched and he didn't make it. So I have remorse because at that time it was
feel like
supposed
that
to be
should've been
me.
you? Yeah.
But then I always look back, well, the Lord told me it ain't your time. But, I'm living right now. You know what I'm saying? So going through that really made me feel like I wasn't worthy for a long time.
The people around you, when you were experiencing these emotions you didn't understand, the people around you, whether it be your fiance, your children, or your cohorts in the military, did they understand what you were going through?
No, here's the thing. Like, in the military, you are told to drive on. Never leave a fallen comrade. What that means, basically, is that, yeah, I ain't going to leave you behind if you get hurt, but I don't really give a damn if you feel good mentally. Because we both got to do the same thing. So, the stigma, from my experience, is that when I sought mental health, I literally would try to, like, not tell people where I was going. I'd just be like, oh, I got to go to the aid station. Well, everybody know where the aid station is, so I would drive by it and be like,
So there's
where
a
you going?
stigma in the military
Oh,
for
heck.
looking for help or
Fuck
seeking
yeah.
help?
Fuck yeah.
Crazy.
Fuck yeah.
Bro, okay. I can't talk about it. I ain't never been there.
So I got a question.
Right.
They just expect everybody to be mentally tough.
Right.
Yeah, it's in our credos.
That's what boot camp was supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Make you
Okay.
That's
cold
what
and
it was.
callous
It's in your
and
credo.
not feel nothing,
So
right?
I got another
Mentally
question.
tough, strong, able to fight. That's in your credos.
When you said earlier that, before you seeked help, that you mentioned that, dang, what did you say? You knew something was wrong. You needed help, but you was like basically saving face, right? Like,
Yeah.
Is that because, were you afraid what people had to say about people who were veterans? They say, oh, he's gonna have that, or because that's what people think. So when you
They're
say
like, you come back from war,
yeah,
you crazy.
so were you
Right.
trying? My question is, were you trying like extra hard to keep it together because you already had in the back of your mind, they already got this stigma as it is, just like how it is when I was over there, that
Right.
you got to keep this. How was that?
So let me make sure I captured the question. So you're asking, like, after I knew I needed help, was I really concerned about what people thought and how to uphold myself?
No, I'm asking before you needed help. When you got home, like, were you just working extra hard to just make sure people just to be what people consider to be normal?
I wore a facade.
Yeah.
Like, we all wear facades,
That's
Right.
right.
but I wore like an extra thick one.
Yeah.
But it take a lot of energy to be fake, right? Because eventually, and I'm not saying
No, it's not about being
fake
fake.
in a
I got you.
negative
I got you.
connotation.
I got you.
I'm saying it takes a lot of energy not to be authentic and not to feel what you feel, be who you are, be where you are, right? I gotta do all this extra shit to make sure y'all don't see where I really am, right? That's a lot of work.
The shit for me was like the behind your back judgment. Like, when I joined the military, my family told me I was stupid, and I didn't understand it. And you really want to. I don't want to say impress people, but I want to uphold. Like, I was a good person before I left here. I'm a good person now, but that natural stigma that people only report the news or the media typically reports the most negative aspects of PTSD to push something. They don't talk about people in my position that have remorse for what I had to do. They don't talk about the people that still think about their buddies that, you know, I got out of the Army, but I'm still thinking about you because that's traumatic. I spent 10 years with you.
So there's a balance between serving your country
I know where
and
you're going.
upholding your morality. There has to,
That's the grass green, or, you know,
you know what I mean?
that's a great point.
So
yeah.
your struggle was the things I had to do. I'm going by your quote, right? The
Right.
things I had to do.
Right.
But I have remorse for the things I had to do. You wouldn't have remorse except it conflicted with your morals.
Yes. But I also want to say that I would still have some internal conflict even if I had a clear line of demarcation.
Yeah.
Meaning, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm okay with doing it, but I don't know if it's right. Right? So I look at, you know, this survival aspect. It's, you know, like, you will never bite yourself to make yourself bleed. Never. Nobody in this room, nobody out, unless that's some other stuff. But I'm saying, we look at it like, you know, there's this right now, and I want, if it's okay.
It's okay.
I had to call the 800 line like a couple weeks ago because I had gotten so down on myself. Even though I'm doing well, I feel okay, I just had a moment, and that moment almost cost me everything. You know, I'm just being real, because when I didn't even know I had anxiety, but that's one of the byproducts of PTSD. Man, I almost became an alcoholic because I didn't know how to cope. I had run out of the strength to cope. And then I got a pinhole of friends, and I mean a pinhole. And I reach out to them, and I reach out to my brother and my siblings, and I don't get nothing back. And it makes you feel alone.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and I'm struggling, but I don't know how to tell you I'm struggling, because now I'm struggling in silence.
Yeah.
Okay, and when I need that outlet, you know, you ain't there.
Yeah.
I need you here.
Yeah.
But if I tell you really what I'm feeling, you're gonna be like, what did we all say a minute ago?
You crazy.
You crazy.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm sorry, man, I'm getting emotional.
But that's one of
It
the.
gets really
that's one of the-
frustrating.
So
You know what I mean?
misunderstood.
That's what we needed.
That's
Yeah.
one of the symptoms, and it's real. The
It's
depression
absolutely real.
It's real.
behind PTSD. The depression is not just PTSD; it's depression attached to it.
That's right.
And it's the hopelessness and the avoidance, and you
Yep.
start withdrawing from the things you love to do,
Man.
right? And you no longer indulge in the things that you found enjoyment in,
Right.
right? It's all these signs and symptoms. You're on high alert. You don't trust nobody. You looking for everybody's other foot to fall, right? And it takes a special kind of person that can get beyond that veil.
Yep. That's right.
I have nightmares every
I have
night.
PTSD, but I ain't never been in the military, never been to war. But there's a reason why I don't trust humans.
Yep. Yep.
And there's a reason why that shows up in every relationship I have.
Yeah.
I have nightmares quite often.
Every night you said.
You know what I'm
still?
saying?
Yeah, every night.
I get it.
It's disappointing because, like, I feel like I take ZQuil because they say it's not addictive, because I don't like taking pills. And that's
'Cause- and
I don't
they
want to
give you
be
pills
like
for
a
everything.
oxymoron or anything where you know they want to give you Ambien. I took Ambien in the military, and I woke up somewhere else. I was nowhere near my barracks. Thank God I didn't do nothing stupid or crazy.
Right.
And I've had like soldiers tell me, you know, man, you told me some stuff last night. What I told y'all made me become comfortable saying, yeah, I went through molestation from a man and a woman. I went through the trauma. There was a time when I was in the military, I voluntarily didn't come home for 2 years because I felt like I ain't have nothing. So I had like this slight death wish when I joined the military, because I always thought, well, if I die fighting, my children will get this $575,000, life insurance policy, and if I ain't here, then so be it. But at least I left something other than my last name. And having PTSD, that's kind of how I was thinking. I was really thinking that. I joined the military at the time. I was 30. When I was
were
29
30
years
when
old.
you
I was
joined?
29 years old.
Damn.
I joined the military, and I went up the ranks. I went up the ranks so fast that, and it's not bragging. I'm not bragging. or anything.
No,
I
go ahead.
went in with a degree. I had a college degree, so I went in with the higher rank than everybody. And then I made staff sergeant pretty quick. in the 8-9 years, I had that plateau point, right, where you get to kind of move around so you could try to move up. But I still have soldiers today that call me and thank me because I was a good leader for them. But then I look back and I'm like, how the fuck was I like that?
What you was
Like
going
I
through.
was suffering like a
You didn't have a
motherfucker.
good leader.
Yeah.
I ain't have no problem giving of myself,
Yeah.
but I wasn't taking care of myself mentally. I could keep you straight mentally. That's like that old adage, what does it say, follow your own advice?
Yeah.
But no, it's easier to
Yeah.
focus on somebody else's problem
It is.
Facts.
than it is your
Facts.
own.
It is.
Give advice
I
to
can
somebody
focus
else.
on making
Facts.
sure you straight. Meanwhile, I'm neglecting whether
It's
or not
actually
I'm
a
okay.
distraction from
You
what
know,
I'm
it's a-
going
it's-
through.
it- yeah,
I ain't got to worry about it right now.
And I do that
Somebody
right now.
else's
Let me
reality
take on your
overshadows
issues
mine.
and your
Yeah.
problems. I do that a lot.
And I think a lot of people also they use that, and I commend you. I commend you, okay? Because a lot of things that you touched upon is exactly a lot of things that I experienced myself.
Right.
Before
And
you go in there, can
Sure.
I just pause for 1
Yeah.
second? We 30 minutes in. I want to open the phone lines while you're talking. We never know when somebody's gonna call in.
Yeah.
But
I know I see a lot of
313
people chiming in too.
Yep, 313-723. We see y'all commenting. I just wanted him to be able to share his story without interruption. And we also want Tat to share her story without interruption. But I also want you all to call in.
Yes,
If
please.
you've experienced living with someone with PTSD or living with PTSD yourself, give us a call. Share your story. Tell us how it impacted you. Tell
Please
us how it
do.
impacted your family, your children.
Please do.
313-723-0481. 313-723-0481.
And
Go
I wanna say
ahead,
thank you
Tat.
for your service as well.
Yes, sir.
Again, so I want to start again commending you. All right, you just made me feel like more open and extra comfortable of me speaking about a few things. I came in first initially going to speak about me experiencing as a wife dealing with my husband who still suffers from PTSD. Okay. I'm gonna get off into that because that's bigger. But also, Penelope, D-Mac, thank y'all because y'all hit the nail on the head. Breaking it down, saying the different aspects, saying the PTSD, especially auto accidents, things like that, right? So I didn't know at first that I even suffered myself behind. I was a teenager. My whole right side of my body was crushed in a car accident. They had to get me out of the car. My face was crushed. Children's Hospital had to shave my hair off, pull my face back, build my face back up. I have a screw in my face, a partial plate in my head, all type of things. And so from then, like riding in the car with someone else, I'm over there and I'm like, no, it's like I still have to drive and I still, saying about those things.
Yeah.
Also, you bringing up things happening to you as far as molestation, so I experienced the same thing, okay? And I kept it bottled up, all right? My thing was because of the things that I endured, it made me want to be more to other people because there's always people out here that feel like they're alone in their situations, nobody understands things like that. So I kind of like suppressed it, but to also, we kind of, to help us is like a sense of therapy.
Right.
We tend to be more into others and helping them through their stuff. And now finally I reached out and I had opened up to one of my siblings. I have 1,000 siblings. But I do. I have 17 siblings, biological siblings.
I got
Papa
28.
was a rolling stone.
Hey, Papa was a rolling
I
stone.
got 28.
And I thank him for making every last one of us. And I have one of my sisters who like these, and I finally opened up to her. I can trust her with it. She's someone that she's very honest. And I felt comfortable with letting her know, like, hey, a lot of things that I went through, a lot of things I probably had mixed up emotions, and how I was probably acting out, said throughout the years, things like that. You never know these things right here happened to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I want to tell you, because I need to tell somebody. Did I get therapy? I did. That helped a lot. And I think it also helped in dealing with my husband and him suffering from it. Yeah. So his is, and I guess it is still kind of a combat things, war type things, because his actually came from violence in the streets in prison.
That's still
okay?
war.
It is. It's still war. I didn't know because, like you say, at first we'll sit and we'll say, "Oh, this stuff crazy," you know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
first thing.
exactly. And also, with us speaking about this, I hope that people that are listening and dealing with people with these things, because every mental illness is to be taken serious. You know, whether it's bipolar, you know, whether it's manic depressive, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's any of those things. And then it's it's others' reactions as well. Like you say, the feeling of being dismissed. You know, you feel like disconnected.
Nobody understands.
They right,
Right.
and that's what everybody feel. The thing is, you want to try to find solutions. To read out.
So call in real quick.
What's
Yay.
going on, Carla? Who is this and where you calling from?
Oh, they hung up.
No,
Go
they
ahead.
didn't.
Calling from Detroit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's going on? What you got to say, bro?
Oh, okay. Well, my name is Baraka, and that's my cousin there,
Who?
Mark Miles.
What's up, cuz?
Hey, cuz.
Hey,
What's
cuz.
up, cuz? That's my big cuz. It's really like my brother. People always say we like Carlton and Will. You know, you see
Hell
he
yeah.
tall, I'm short.
Okay, who was
I
Carlton?
mean,
That's all I
He
want to
got to
know.
be Will. It looked
He
like
was
he
Carlton.
was
He was
look
absolutely.
at him. Look at him. Right.
The fuck? Who was
I'm
Carlton?
Carlton. I'm a short stack. I might
I'm
be
sorry, my
5'8".
bad. Go ahead, my boy. Good.
No, but it's all good. But I just want to give him much props, love, respect for speaking up and,
Amen.
it takes and, really understand one another and be there better for each other. It took time for both of us to grow up, cuz, and I really appreciate you, man. And I appreciate you all having him on the platform and let him share his story with the world.
That's right.
I love you, man. Thank you.
And
I
we appreciate
you,
him
man.
coming.
One
Sharing
thing
it.
I love,
Love you too, cuz.
I am a lesbian, but one thing I love is a man that has the ability to be a man's man.
That's right.
And still be able to access that part of himself. You know, so many conversations, transparency from a man's man. Right?
I appreciate that.
What's going on, Carla? Who's this and where you calling from? Hello?
How you doing tonight?
What's going on?
My name is Lily Too Cute Jefferson.
Okay, too
Hi,
cute.
Lily.
Too cute.
That me and Mike
Hi, how
heard
you
too
guys
cute.
doing? When he's crying consistently since April 1st. It's just crying, your emotions, anything can make you cry. But my incident happened in January of 2022. I was involved in some sort of with that, as well as I lost my mom in 2021. And it's just a lot of emotions, and I'm kind of losing my speech right now.
Miss
but-
Lily,
No,
if
you're
I could
okay.
give you something, I would say, don't give up. Try your best to
Yes.
be resilient. And I will tell you, one of my coping mechanisms is going for a walk. Go for
Yes.
a ride. Put on your
Yes.
favorite playlist. But don't go during rush hour, though, because that might frustrate you.
But,
But my point in
you
saying
know-
that is just try to find something that relieves your mind of, what is
I
heavy
have
on you.
4 grandbabies I have to
Oh, there
be
you
here
go.
There you
for.
go.
There you go.
I have
There's
4
your joy.
grandbabies, and I
There's your
love
joy.
them. So, but for the most part, I understand, and I'm looking at you right now, and I'm like, the emotions, the crying, I understand.
I appreciate
And if
that.
you if you are not a PTSD survivor or victim, you do not understand the tears, the emotions. You have where you just want to be around people, then some days you don't.
Yeah.
So I just, as well as you just gave me a good word, we have to just love on each other and just keep put God first.
That's right.
We appreciate you calling. Don't hang up just because I said that. Because a lot of people don't understand this illness, right? I have an aunt who did a tour in Afghanistan, and she experienced a lot of the same things. I mean, I've literally, we used to talk every Sunday morning. And sometimes I would literally have to talk her down, and sometimes she would have to talk me down, right? And that was our trauma bond, I guess. But understand the disease. They didn't do much research on the disease, and therefore she felt more comfortable with me because I'm clicking. I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to figure it out, trying to help her navigate her way through this, whereas she's getting resistance and people thinking, oh, she's being emotionally manipulative or she's doing this or that.
So I would think that a person gets comfortable with someone like you that is actually trying to help them figure it out. You just said some key words. I'm clicking. I'm trying to figure it out because, like, again, I'm gonna say this as a black man, and people seeing me cry. That don't mean I'm weak or
Not at
I'm
all.
not vulnerable,
It means
but
you're
I'm in
human.
touch with my emotions,
That's
and I
right.
want to be able to control myself.
That's right.
So that I'm not out here doing
Because if
something
you
dumb.
suppress all that,
Yeah.
there's no control.
That's the negative side of
Yeah.
PTSD
It's a
you see on the news.
volcano
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
That's
you see
right.
on the news.
That's right.
Mike, what's
But
up?
the most important thing that you said, the black community is so stuck on, you're crazy. You're crazy.
Yeah.
That's
That's not
unfortunate.
true.
Yeah.
That's not
Well, then
true.
you'll be the type of
We
person they
all
don't believe that you're going through something like that.
Yep.
Not you. You.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
Not
then
you.
until it hits home, then it's I ain't crazy. I'm just going through something.
But you know what?
Yeah.
One thing that I really want to stress to people is I get it that, you know, we don't understand a lot of things. It's
That's-
hard,
yeah.
right? But can I say this? A lot of times we don't try to understand.
We don't try to educate
We don't
ourselves.
try to do the work to reach people, to meet people where they are so that we can be of some assistance to them.
That's
so
right.
if you do come across a person and you don't understand where they're coming from, why don't you try to come down to where they are, meet them where they are at,
Yep.
and do some research.
Yep.
We on the internet all day, every day. Go on Google and say, what are some signs and causes of PTSD or whatever your friend or loved one may be experiencing at a time. What can I do to be supportive, and what does showing up and being supportive look like for me in this standpoint? We don't try.
But you want to know why a lot of us don't really believe in PTSD? Is because we've been trained to go through trauma
Exactly.
and to get
Exactly.
the fuck over it.
Get
Yes.
over it.
Yeah.
Get over
And
it.
then just move the
Yeah.
fuck on. Go on. It's over with. That was then. This is now.
This is life.
It's not
Yeah.
happening now. So you need to move the fuck on. What's wrong with you? Why you stuck in the past? It's not my fault. I can't even control this shit. Like, you know
I
what
know
I'm saying?
someone
Like,
else
True.
is trying
no,
to.
we
I know someone
as
else
a
is trying to
people-
call in.
I'm sorry.
I know someone else is trying to call in, but I just thank y'all for this topic.
you.
We thank you.
Thank you, Miss Lily.
That's
Thank y'all.
right.
This
Thank
is
you.
a
Thank
good
you.
topic, and y'all
Thank you.
keep doing the work that you guys are doing. And Mike, Mark, thank you
Yes,
for
ma'am.
coming on as a black man, speaking your part about it.
Yeah.
That's
As a
right.
black woman, I just have to get out the fear of. It's the fear of the judgment from people.
That's right.
So yes, I'm a crybaby. So y'all
I
have
am
a good
too.
night.
Okay, sometimes you gotta let it out.
And
That's right.
thank y'all.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you for calling,
Thank
Miss
you,
Lily.
Miss
Love.
Lily.
I got
Bye-bye.
something to say real quick. I just want to give Miss Grafford the floor real quick. I'm going to give her my headset. I don't know if this ever happened, but I want to let her step in because she has a comment. I know she's here, but I feel like it's something that needs to be heard and we need to hear. So I'm going to give her my headset so she can say what she needs to say.
Oh,
Okay?
there you go, Mark.
Yay.
Me and Mark was just over
We were just
here
talking
trying
about
to
that. She
figure
trying
out
to
how to
figure
get
out-
her up. This is Mark's fiance. Her name is Carlotta. She can cook her ass off.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
You didn't bring no good food.
Right. I said, don't say food.
Carlotta, talk to us about the support system.
Okay, I found out recently, well, maybe 3 years ago in therapy, 5 years ago actually, that I also have PTSD. From what Penelope was saying, things that you experience. I came from a product of an abusive home where my father beat my mother on a regular. I was molested and so forth. So Mark and I went to high school together. We passed each other a lot. He was popular in his way of sports. I was popular in my way of dance, but we didn't connect until 25 years later. But upon that, he was the first person to be very transparent with me and he told me all the things that he shared tonight on our second date. And it threw me back because I was like, wow, a man that's open and with his feelings and isn't ashamed to say what's going on. At that moment, and that was 11 years ago, at that moment I researched and I studied because I suffer from depression and anxiety, crippling, but I didn't know what PTSD was. Not fully, I knew the word, but not how it affected a person. So I researched it so that I could be softer towards him.
Amen.
So I could be supportive
Amen.
towards him.
There you go.
Understand.
One thing that he did not want is to be touched because of things that he went through, as he said in his previous marriage. And I remember one day I went to touch his face and he jumped.
Bro.
And I said, I'm not going to hurt you.
That took a year.
And the next time I finally felt comfortable to touch him and he didn't flinch. And now to this day, he'll take my hand and put it on his cheek and he'll rub it across to the other cheek. And he'll inhale and exhale into it. We discuss things, and it's hard, but you have to be their support system. There are times I've been mad as hell where I've just been like, okay, fuck it. You know, I can't do this. But I've never told him that. Because I did not want him to think that I was going to give up on him.
Just another person.
Because I've heard that no one believes me. Everyone thinks I'm just making it up. But I know what it feels like to feel that way when people don't believe you. And I didn't want him to ever think that he had an enemy in me.
That's right.
I've always told him he's my soul's best friend. Not my soulmate, but my soul's best friend.
That's right.
And that's because he was open from the gate.
Right.
And he is the person who made me want to be a better person because of his bravery and his ability to not hide behind what he's been through.
Right.
And I've always told him, you can cry in front of me. That doesn't make you a punk.
Right.
I just cried on the internet, so
That makes...
There's nothing wrong with it.
I'm not ashamed.
And you believe and you touch other people.
Yeah. And
you help other people.
And when he said a couple of weeks ago he had a episode,
Right.
it was scary.
Yep. Yep.
It was scary.
Yeah. I am so glad that you're sitting right here. Because I totally relate to you. It's not easy. It's not easy for one, dealing with your own trauma, and then to be involved with someone and they trauma seem like a lot more than when you were just talking about as far as touching him and things like that. I went through the same thing with my husband. I had to be careful sometimes of waking him up when he was having these nightmares. I had to be careful when approaching him when he is having these outbursts. I didn't know where they was coming from. I'm like, what the fuck you been smoking? What's going on? You know, like, nah, what's that, my man? You know, what's going on? And I had ended up taking him to a mental institution. I did. And then I said, we both got to get therapy. Once together, and I had my pastor see us together. And then we had got separate sessions, okay? And I commend you because it's about also with our approach as well. When you're trying to help someone else cope and you're still coping yourself, you have to approach things with empathy. When you're dealing with someone and you're not sure of what's going on with them, you have to be careful of your reaction because it can also escalate it, heighten it, you know, what's going on. These triggers. Right. A trigger can be anything. I found with my husband, he couldn't be in certain atmospheres. It could be certain things, certain smells and things like that could trigger a person. Yeah. It's all about addressing the triggers once we know them. The symptoms, definitely avoidance. That is one of the biggest ones. So you won't bring back those memories, recreate those memories. The inability to control the emotions. Okay, my husband had that a lot. I remember one time he was talking to me, but he wasn't talking to me, and he just kept saying to me, "You should have killed me." Like, you know, and I'm just like, huh? I'm like, it's me. It's me. You know, so I went through a lot, you know what I'm saying, with that.
Right.
You two, I'm gonna say power couple. Power couple. No, seriously.
We hear that a lot.
To actually, because there's 6 stages to PTSD. You have the routine of things, right? You have the events. You have the withdrawal stage. You have the then awareness. Then the action. What actions do we take? And then you have the integration, right?
Yeah.
I commend you both because it seemed like you both have tackled every stage of this.
And it's still work.
Okay.
You know, that work never ends because
It doesn't.
there are times when
Go
it
ahead.
took years where he would shut the fuck down.
Yep.
And I would.
Yep.
He was living in Ohio for 2 years.
Right.
Was at the beginning of our relationship. So when he moved back to Michigan, we still really didn't have time to know each other because we started dating. 3 months later, he moved to Ohio for work. I couldn't leave. My kids were in school.
Right.
He moved back. It was like a stranger. We were familiar,
Right.
but it was still a stranger.
Right.
And then he was home for 3 years, had moved to Texas for work. I
Right.
couldn't leave. My daughter was in 11th grade. And the shutdowns, I started saying, well, in my head, and then I would send him long paragraphs of text messages
Right.
like, you don't give a fuck how I'm feeling, how you
Right.
think I'm feeling, I'm here by myself,
done that.
blah, 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 I'm alone,
I've done
I'm
that.
lonely. And it was emotional. And then there would be times where he would respond with, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And
May,
I'm like,
may I interject real quick?
Wait, thank you for sharing.
Well, because I'm already emotional, so
Right,
it's,
so
Yeah.
I don't want to
it's-
feed into
it's
that. all of that.
overwhelming
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
that
I feel
point
it. Yeah.
because I accept because you got I'm not gonna say what you got to do, but
Right.
what happens is I'm dealing with it by myself on a regular basis. And then I come, I go. So now I'm having flashbacks. Remember we talked about flashbacks, deja vu, nightmares, avoidance. I was avoiding.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not that I didn't read it, but for a person
can't
like
go
me,
there right now.
I didn't have the verbal capacity
Right.
to respond respectfully
Right.
without saying, "All right, fuck it."
But
That's
So-
too easy because I got a paragraph and it's just
Right.
like, why are you attacking me?
so,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, so it's her expressing your feelings, and it's you feeling like it's an attack.
but you know the thing about him?
To keep my emotions in
Yeah.
check, remember I said that is
Right.
thank you for sharing that with me, and then I will respond.
When you get yourself
Later.
together.
And what I
Right.
respect about him is that he takes his time, whether he goes for his walk or he leaves and drives to his brother's house, or
He gives thought
when he was
before
staying
he
out
responds.
well, yeah, right, and he was
Yeah.
living out of state
Yeah.
and would take a day to respond.
Good job.
And he wouldn't text, okay, you know, this is what I understood. He would call and say, we'd have like awkward conversation, and then he'll say, okay, I need to address something.
Right.
Just talk
I
to this
wasn't mad
elephant
at
in
what
the
you
room.
said. I was mad because you were right. And I told him, I don't say things to be right. I say things to be heard, just like everyone wants to be heard.
Right.
But to have a man to admit and say, you were right, and I was pissed at myself. That's why I got off the phone. That's why I haven't, because I had to
That's
cope
one
with
thing I love
myself.
about
Yeah.
him.
He is very authentic.
That's right.
He has his flaws like everyone else.
That's right.
I'll call him my Clark Kent, my Superman, but I know that kryptonite is a
Kryptonite.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
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 And I
Wow.
have to love him enough to acknowledge it.
That's right.
I would tell him when he lived in Ohio, go in the bathroom and look in the mirror.
Yeah.
I say, you see that person in that mirror?
Yeah.
You're worthy and you are loved. And I don't believe in, oh, the devil gonna fuck the devil.
Yeah. That's right.
We don't
Don't even
claim the
say his
Don't
devil.
give him no
name.
credit.
Okay.
Don't
Don't
give him
even
no
say his
credit.
name.
And the
Okay.
thing that made me love him and fall in love with him, because he said he loved me first and that he was in love with me 1st. But the thing that made me love him was that he prayed. One day he grabbed my hand and we prayed. It's not a meal that we eat. It's not a day that go by that we don't pray.
Right. That's right.
She forgot to tell you I
Praise
gave her a
God.
Bible.
Oh, he gave me a Bible. That was
Like
the
the
first gift
sec-
he gave me
yeah.
was a Bible that he signed. Yeah.
I just believe that you never know when it's gonna be the last time you see someone,
That's right.
and I don't want to live with that trauma, if I didn't say it the last time I saw you.
That's awesome.
That weighs on me. So
That's right.
There's one genuine man, and you know,
Yes, it
men
is.
out there, you know, what I can say, he's a man's man,
That's right.
but he's also in touch
with his feelings.
with his emotions and other aspects of who he is.
Yeah.
And ain't nothing wrong with it. Y'all can call it whatever you want. I call it a man's man. I call it a woman's man because a woman wants a man with balance.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Not me, but them.
I think, and then
I gotta be clear.
here's one thing that I don't know if we touched on. And then
can't
It
with
was
you.
weird. You gotta be clear.
I'm gonna say this
I
though.
came with you.
on one thing that really I don't think we touched on is like PTSD, like you touched on, Tad, was that the things that happened to me made me more protective, and then having this whole emotional roller coaster that is daily, hourly, it made me so protective of everything that I covered and loved.
So
I don't
where we
care
at?
what it is.
We 1 minute
So-
away from 2:30. I just
I
want
appreciate
one of
it.
y'all.
Thank y'all.
I just want one of y'all to talk about the impact that it may have had on the offspring, the children.
Would you like to?
You know what I'm saying? Either one of y'all, and then we got to go around with our final thoughts. And I'm gonna dismiss my final thought because I want you guys to give your final thought. But what was the impact on your child? Did your child understand? And in brief, how did y'all work through that?
2 minutes. Two
Okay.
minutes. My youngest daughter doesn't talk to me
Right.
because in her mind I abandoned her,
Mm.
and every decision that I made was for her.
Right.
All of them.
Yeah.
And being away and calling my daughter on a satellite phone where I only got 45 minutes, I try to split it up with 3 of them for 15 minutes each. And her being the youngest, I take them in numerical order, so to speak.
Right.
And it come a time where she was just like, I don't talk to you no more.
Yeah.
And she'd seen things that happened,
Yep.
with me and her mom, and then me not being there to like kind of rectify it and help fix it drew a further wedge. Okay, that's all I have.
That's true. It will put a dampening in your interpersonal relationships, family relationships.
Absolutely.
I have 2 bonus daughters from my marriage, and I seen the effect on them. The youngest, my youngest, she's was very emotional and was confused about what was going on with her dad, things like that as well. And even with other family members, it's like people like disassociate and things like that. I'm not going to deal with you, things like yes, because they don't understand, like you
Avoiding
say,
it.
Penelope, and also you, D-Mac, that as far as the being educated on it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so I relate.
Education is a willful endeavor.
It's key.
You know what I mean?
It's
If you don't
key.
want to know, you ain't gonna know.
That's right. We all just have to, like you say, thank you so much again. Love on one another, research, like Penelope said, learn about the person around you, learn about each other, okay? It's just more than what you see, okay? You never know what a person has been through, what they going through. And then people, don't be afraid. Anybody that's sitting out there and you're going through something, that's the one thing that also is damaging, is when you do sit there and suppress it, and you do bottle it up, and you do sit there and feel like I'm alone, and then self-destruct. Let it out. Find someone that you can trust and that you can talk to. Hell, if you got to message me, whatever, I don't mind. I would share it all. I would kick it with you. Let's do this. To reach one, to teach one is to reach one, and we have to, we have to. Mental illness is real.
Put yourself in a crisis situation. Mike done abandoned his seat, and I understand why. I appreciate it. But there is I can't read that.
I have it right here. I was just gonna say
Yeah.
the hotline. So for there's several hotlines for PTSD. Just a few: National PTSD hotline, 1-800-273-TALK. You guys can call that. There's also a veteran crisis hotline as well, 1-800-273-TALK. You guys can also use Google. So if you are affected, or if you know of anyone who is affected, these are some resources that can be helpful.
And may I say,
Thank you, sister.
may I say one last thing? If somebody is telling you that they're having something, don't blow them off.
Yep.
Don't blow
Please
it
don't
off.
blow
Yep.
them off.
Say
Talk
that,
to
Mark.
them. Sit
That's
down
right.
with them. Take them somewhere that they like. Where they're the most comfortable, and they will
be a
open up
safe
to you.
space.
Yep,
That's right.
That's really all
Be
it
a
boils
safe
down
space.
to.
And Mike also wrote down online resources, books and workbooks, community health centers, crisis line. You can dial 988 and
Yeah,
press
that's what I
1.
was looking for.
You can also text 838-255 to chat with a qualified crisis counselor. Black people, do not be afraid to seek therapy.
It's okay.
I've been in and out of therapy for almost 15 years.
It is okay.
Maurice or Mark has been in and out of therapy for over a decade. Support groups.
Yeah.
Get with support groups. Get with people that you can trust and you don't be fearful of them
Judging.
judging
yeah.
and running and talking about you in a negative way.
Yeah.
You know, I my grandfather told me this a long time
It's
ago.
our final thought, and we
Final
about
thought.
this motherfucker.
When
Go
you
ahead, Mike.
say nothing, someone has something to say.
Mm-hmm.
When you the loudest person in the room, someone has something to say.
That's right.
Be yourself, be comfortable, stay who you are, and be true to yourself and the people around you.
Amen.
Much love, y'all.
And we out.
Thank
And
you.
we out
Thank
this
you for
way.
We'll
having
see y'all
me.
next week.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in.
Much love. Thank you.
SevenMileRadio.com.
Thank you.